Welcome back to Heart to Art to Heart Talks. I'm Vonnie Snyder. Welcome back to my studio. This is the second video that I am going to be doing this weekend for my mini art challenge of Down on the Farm. Yesterday I told you a bit about my process, how I decide what I'm going to paint, some of the things that I think about ahead of time, and just introduced you more to myself and to what Heart to Art to Heart talks are going to be all about. And today I realized that I didn't explain what Heart to Art to Heart was all about and how I came up with that. So for me, the heart part starts first of all with me and my creativity and something that touches my heart that I want to turn into art. So it goes from my heart to the art, and then I'm really hoping that it touches your heart when you see it. So that's why the Heart to Art to Heart talks. And I'm hoping that you will continue to find them inspiring and helpful and interesting. And again, it's a learning curve for me, so I hope that you enjoyed the last one and that you will enjoy this one as well. I'll be doing it in little chunks of time today so that you can get a sense of some of the process that I have, and also for time for drawing for different parts of the painting. So when you think of creativity, and when I think of creativity, I know that as a child I was a very creative little being. I believed in the fairies and just had an imaginary world that was full of all kinds of exciting things. I loved to draw and color and dance, and creativity was a real part of my life. And that remains so for most of my life, but it's just the painting part got put on hold for so many years. So I'm really glad to be back to doing that. But for you, when you think of creativity, think about what were some of the things that you enjoyed doing as a child. Did you like painting then and drawing, or were you a singer or musical, or did you like making things with your hands? Because those are clues to what you can still find to be fulfilling and creative now. So that's just a little bit of thinking for you to do today. So I'm going to be walking you through, we're going to start to paint today, so I want to show you some of the things that I do to get started, and then I'll be doing some painting. So first of all, yesterday I did show you what I'm going to be doing today, so I'm just going to remind you of that. It's on my iPad, and I find my iPad is just invaluable for my painting process. So this is it. This is the combine shed in the field of our 100-acre farm in Hastings that we lived in many years ago. But I also want to show you the photo that I initially took it from. That's this little one here. So you can see there were a lot more things in this actual picture. There's a bit of the barn and an outbuilding and another bush. So I really did try to zoom in, show you this one once more on the combine shed. I just felt that that was going to be my focal point for today. But I am going to be putting the photo up as well on my easel so that I can refer to it from time to time. And also I'll have my iPad so I can refer to it as well. You just won't be able to see it. I'll have the camera focused mostly on my canvas. But I do refer back and forth to these different things. So that's the picture. And then moving over here, this will be what I'll be focusing on for most of the time, so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. And I had to rearrange things a bit because I did have the other table when I showed you yesterday was my normal table for painting. But I've had to move things around a bit now so that this is where I'm going to be working, just so that you can see what I'm going to be doing. Oh, and I have a very important thing here. This is my creativity mug. It's a bright, colorful, cheery mug full of coffee, by the way, which helps me to just keep on going and inspires me and keeps my whistle wetted. So first of all, I want to show you some of the colors that I'm going to be working with today. I have them in my Stay Wet palette here. So I'm hoping you'll be able to see this okay. So I have a big pile of white, titanium white. That's one of the staples for me. Next I have green gold. That's the pale yellowy gold that you see there. Gorgeous color, gorgeous color. The next one beside that is called Viridian Green. Beside that is Sap Green, Burnt Umber, Ultramarine Blue, Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray is a combination of black and Prussian blue, and it's just it's one of my go-to colors. Yellow Ochre, and in this corner we have a big batch of yellow iron oxide, and that's going to be what I'm putting on first. I always do an underpainting to start with, almost always. Never say always, because as soon as you do, then you know that you have to take it back, because there's always exceptions to the rule. But I almost always start with an underpainting, and almost always in more of a yellow tone, because that's really the color of sunlight, and it does break through in many parts of painting, a lot of the paintings that I do actually. And I'm just setting up my picture here so that I can refer to it, although at this stage I don't really need to refer to it all that much. Some of the brushes that I use for this they're more of the flat brushes. There are differences between these, and I'll explain them at another time when I do more about brushes. But I almost always just use these ones. You can use it flat like that, or on its side to make more of a line. And then another one I use a lot of are the liners, and they're just really helpful for the tiny little strokes that you need to make. But there are so many different kinds of brushes, and that can be a video for another day. But those are the main ones that I use. So I'm going to jump right in. I just wanted to mention too that I have put a couple of layers of extra gesso on here, and gesso is just kind of the basic base of the acrylic paints, and it just adds the right texture to be able to pick up the paint well. So I'm just going to dip my brush in a bit of the paint, or the water, and not my coffee, although it's been so close the number of times that I've gone to put my paintbrush in my drinking cup. And I'm going to get started here with just covering the canvas with, this is the yellow iron oxide. And I just use kind of a crisscross bit of a stroke. And I'm just trying to get it covered. I'm not trying to make it perfect, because a lot of it is going to be covered right up. I just love that it's such a bright yellow color. And there can be different levels of intensity. Some are a little bit more thickly covered and some are not. But the point being is to just cover the canvas with some color. And for me, it just becomes a little less intimidating to see a canvas that has some color on it. When it's pure white, it can be a bit of intimidating because you want to get started and you just don't quite know where to go sometimes when you get started or where it's going to go. And a lot of it, for me, is very much an intuitive process. I kind of go with the flow of where it feels like it wants to be painted. And that seems to work for me. So I don't have a formula of starting with dark areas or light areas. I just kind of start out with what feels right to me. And I think really with creativity, that's a lot of what needs to happen. Again, just getting some color on there, trying to cover up all the little white bits. But keeping in mind too that you're going to be putting a lot more layers on here. By the way, I am happy if you want to paint along with me and would like to learn different things about your own painting. I am doing this so that it can be of interest to everybody, but I think primarily it's for those who really want to learn, first of all, how to paint with acrylics. Acrylics is my main preferred medium. I never used it when I was in high school. It was almost always watercolor or pastel or pencil that we used. And acrylics was really new back then. And so I'm talking about the 70s. So we're going back a while here. And acrylics were just really starting to come in, but I didn't use them back in high school. So the very first time I used them was about 5 years ago. And I just love them. I love that they're forgiving because you can always paint over them. And that for me is a very redeeming quality because inevitably I'll have goofs. And I quite often, well, let me say every painting I do, there's a spot where I just feel like, oh, this is just not going the way I want it. And I need to start over. But I don't. I just keep going. And like you said, it can be so forgiving that I can paint over anything that's a goof and that I didn't really want to do, and then it turns out okay in the end. So that's what I like about acrylic paints. They just are forgiving, and they're just a wonderful medium to work with. So I've pretty much got that covered. I do like to go around the edges too, so I'm going to do that. Just going to cover up the edges, and those will get covered up again as well. A bit more paint. This one in particular is, see if I can hold it up for you. These are transparent yellow iron oxide. This one is a fluid acrylics. More often what I'm using is a heavy body acrylic, which just is a bit thicker, but I like this one when I'm getting started. Just to give you an example of the heavy body, this one is the green gold that I used, or I will be using. Again, it's golden. So Just have a bit more to do around the edges here. This is, in case you're wondering about what day it is, today is Saturday the 25th of April, and it's a gorgeous day outside. I know that one thing I'm going to have to do is get out and get cutting the grass, because it's long out there, long overdue for being cut. So I'll be back and forth with my videotaping and my working outside and trying to keep busy. How are you doing to keep busy these days with having to stay inside? Are you finding some creative things to do? I'm baking a lot more than I used to. And cooking, probably getting a lot healthier. Although I need to be exercising a bit more. I know that. Okay. I've gone all the way around there, but I still have the bottom to do. And I'm going to do that after I sign off with you for now, just because I want to let things dry for a little bit. And then we'll be able to come back and work at that a little bit more later. I do want to show you one more little thing, just because I've got this paint on the go here anyway. So I'm going to put this aside. It's all painted now. You can see that, except for the one edge. I'm going to do that now as well. You might as well watch this too, if you can see it. It's painting along the edge. And this is just a choice for me today. Sometimes I don't paint along the edge, and then I'll come back later and do it in a black or a Payne's gray, just a darker color, just all the way around. But for today, I thought maybe I would go around the edges. So I have a drying spot in my studio here that I'm going to take it to. Better maneuver around in my studio with all the extra equipment here. So that goes in my drying spot. I try and keep it out of the reach of the kitty cats. And one more thing I'm going to show you, just because I like to have several things on the go at once. This is just a little flower picture that I've been working on, another one of my flowers. And since I had some of the yellow iron oxide, I thought I would work a little bit more at it. Again, I'm just going to fill in this spot here. When I started this, I outlined the flowers, and then this part here is the Payne's Gray. It's one of my favorite colors. I think I said that already. So I'm going to try and keep the strokes going up, kind of like the flower goes. But I just want a base of this yellow on the flowers, just to bring the sunlight in. And I'm making this a bit smoother as well. I love doing my flowers. It's probably one of my favorite things that I like to paint. There's just so much complexity of color in the petals. And also, you know, the really neat thing about flowers is they don't care if you make them look totally like what they look like exactly. That's the thing when I'm doing a commission. I really want it to look like that particular person's cat or dog. But a flower really doesn't care if you have it looking like itself or not. You need to have it somewhat looking like a flower, but it really doesn't care if you get it just right or take liberties with it. And artistic license is a wonderful thing to have. It gives you so much freedom. Just a lot of freedom. So, hoping with these videos that you give some thought to your own creativity, what you like to do. Kind of been my theme for today, I think, is really exploring what you like to do with your creativity, whatever it might be. Because it really now is a good time when you get the urge to do something creative, do it. I get my art supplies most of the time from Curry's art store in London. And they're not paying me to say that. I just, that's one of my favorite places to go. It's like a candy shop for me. I just love going to art stores. And it's my favorite one, really. I have got some things at Michael's, and it's not always a bargain, so you have to kind of watch for them, but sometimes when they have their 50% off, I buy a tube of paint. And what I was getting at, though, was ordering online can be done for your art supplies. And I ordered some things from Curry's just at the beginning of all of this, and it did take longer for it to get here, and I think they're all finding that that's the case now, is that it just does take longer to get your supplies, but it's a great way to stock up. I've got a lot more canvases now, so that's a good thing. So I'm ready. Might need a few new paints, but overall I've got everything that I need here. Oh, around the edges there. Good thing for that camera, I spotted an extra spot here that needed some paint. And yep, some up top too. Okay, some at the bottom here too. Okay, so that's a start at our picture for today down on the farm. I'm not sure what my title is going to be on that just yet, but I will let you know. Need to take a break and let that dry, and then I'll be back to put in the first layers of our painting. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration, and we will continue on in the next one. And if you like these videos, then please like and subscribe to my channel. I have a channel now. I'm just still chuckling about this whole process. Anyway, thanks so much for being with me. Thank you. Take care. Be kind to your heart. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.